Batman, the animated series. Mindgames, written by Michael Reaves, adapted by Tim Maxwell. Chapter 1. Relentless as the Rain. Gotham City looms under a veil of night, its skyline a harsh juxtaposition of modern skyscrapers and decaying buildings. The air is thick with tension and the constant echo of chaos. From a bird's-eye view, fires blaze, mobs swarm the streets, and the sounds of police sirens and distant explosions punctuate the night. The city is on the brink of anarchy, a near riot encapsulating its streets. In stark contrast, Gotham Heights stands out, its affluent residences appearing almost serene amidst the turmoil. Here, opulent mansions rivaling Wayne Manor in grandeur dot the landscape. One such mansion captures the attention, its grand facade and imposing architecture lit softly against the night. At the entrance, a distinguished doorman in white gloves and tails holds the door of a sleek black stretch limo. A middle-aged couple, adorned in luxurious attire, steps out. Their expressions are calm, almost indifferent to the turmoil outside. They enter the mansion, where the door is graciously held open by another servant. Inside, the opulence continues. The couple hands over their hats and coats to yet another servant, revealing the interior of the mansion in all its splendor. The ballroom is a hive of activity, filled with Gotham's elite, dressed in their finest. Laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft pop of champagne corks fill the air as canapes and drinks circulate on silver trays. Amongst the crowd, a tall, broad-shouldered man in a tuxedo stands with his back to the room, conversing casually with socialite Veronica Vreeland. They are near the French doors leading to a balcony, the city's skyline visible through the glass. Veronica's voice carries a note of distress as she laments the impact of the crime wave on her shopping habits, her tone a mix of frustration and triviality. The man turns, placing his empty glass on a tray carried by a passing waiter. It's Bruce Wayne. His face is a mask of calm detachment as he responds dryly, highlighting the disconnect between their world and the suffering outside. Veronica gives him a puzzled look, uncertain of his sincerity, before continuing her lament about the recent surge in crime and Batman's noticeable absence. Bruce's expression shifts subtly, a grim determination in his eyes. He assures her that Batman is likely waiting for the right moment to act. His words hang in the air, a quiet promise of impending justice. Suddenly, the French doors burst open with a dramatic crash. The Penguin strides in, flanked by hired goons brandishing dark, deco-styled guns. His entrance is theatrical, his presence commanding the room's attention. The crowd gasps, a ripple of shock and fear spreading through the guests. The Penguin, his umbrella in one hand and a large leather bag in the other, demands the room's attention. His voice cuts through the murmurs of the crowd, instructing them to secure their valuables in his bag. The guests, visibly distressed, begin to comply, dropping their wallets, purses, jewelry, and other valuables into the bag as he passes. Veronica's face pales as the Penguin approaches her, recognizing her with a sinister grin. His greeting is laced with mockery, his tone both familiar and menacing. Veronica's voice trembles as she responds, glancing over to where Bruce had been standing. She starts in surprise, realizing that Bruce is no longer there. As the Penguin continues his menacing procession through the ballroom, the atmosphere thickens with fear and uncertainty. The night, already dark and tumultuous, holds its breath, waiting for the inevitable strike from the shadows. The night was cloaked in an eerie silence as Bruce Wayne slipped away from the mansion. Glancing back to ensure he hadn't been noticed, he darted toward the nearby hedges, yanking off his tie. The transformation was imminent. Bursting through the hedges, Bruce sprinted toward the road, his jacket now flapping in his hand. A pair of headlights appeared in the distance, rapidly closing the gap. Desperation clear on his face, he waved his jacket overhead, signaling the approaching vehicle. The squad car skidded to a halt, tires screeching and fishtailing just inches from Bruce. The door flew open, and Harvey Bullock, bristling with anger, lumbered out, followed closely by Renee Montoya. Bruce, breathless and agitated, pointed back towards the mansion, indicating the dire situation inside. The Penguin was orchestrating a robbery, and there was no time to lose. Bullock and Montoya exchanged a glance before springing into action. Bullock pulled his gun from his jacket, instructing Montoya to cover the back while he took the front. Montoya paused briefly to warn Bruce to stay put for his safety, then followed Bullock into the night. Bruce watched them go, a look of relief crossing his face, quickly replaced by a frown of confusion as something nagged at his thoughts. Inside the mansion, chaos reigned. The grand ballroom, moments before filled with laughter and chatter, now teemed with panic. The front doors slammed open, and Bullock stormed in, his gun at the ready. He shouted at the Penguin and his goons, demanding their surrender. Caught off guard in the midst of their heist, the goons turned to face the threat. Montoya appeared behind them, her gun trained on the group. With steely determination, she ordered them to the floor. The goons dropped their weapons and complied, lying flat on the ground. The Penguin's expression twisted in a scowl. He lowered his umbrella, releasing a thick, opaque mist that enveloped the room. Bullock, unprepared, began to cough violently as the fog surrounded him. Pandemonium erupted as the guests, blinded by the mist, scattered in all directions. Montoya, quick-thinking and composed, dropped to the floor, finding a clear pocket of air just above the parquet. She moved deftly through the haze, keeping her gun trained on the now prone goons. Meanwhile, the Penguin made his escape. He charged through the open French doors, abandoning the mist-spraying umbrella and producing another from within his overcoat. This one sprouted propeller blades and began to whirl, lifting him off the ground with the bag of loot in tow. Bullock stumbled onto the balcony, still coughing from the effects of the mist. He looked up just in time to see the Penguin silhouetted against the full moon, ascending rapidly. Raising his gun, he realized with frustration that the villain was already out of range. He lowered his weapon, disappointment etched on his face as the Penguin soared away into the night. The small TV in Bruce Wayne's office displayed a black and white news broadcast. Summer Gleason, the ever-present anchor, sat behind the news desk. Behind her, an inset graphic showcased Gotham's notorious criminals, Joker, Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Penguin, Rupert Thorne, and Poison Ivy, looming over a stylized Gotham skyline. The bottom of the screen bore the ominous legend, Crime Wave, Gotham Under Siege, Day 8. Summer Gleason reported on the latest crime, a brazen robbery by the Penguin at the Van Pelt estate, emphasizing Gotham's plight worsened by Batman's mysterious absence. And Summer's voice questioned his whereabouts during this critical time. The TV was perched on the desk of Dana, Bruce Wayne's secretary. With a sigh, she turned off the set, her thoughts mirroring the city's growing concern. The door to the office opened, and Alfred entered, his demeanor as composed as ever in his chauffeur's livery. He greeted Dana cheerfully, who responded with worry about the rampant crime and Batman's absence. Alfred, ever the enigmatic butler, shrugged and made his way to Bruce's inner office. Just as he reached the door, it swung open, and Bruce emerged, looking preoccupied with his schedule book in hand. Nearly colliding with Alfred, Bruce apologized absent-mindedly and crossed to Dana's desk, his mind clearly elsewhere. Bruce leaned over Dana's desk, pointing out discrepancies in his calendar. He was puzzled by his nearly blocked-out evenings over the past month, unable to recall his activities. Dana's teasing smile and suggestion about too many girlfriends brought no comfort to Bruce. He dismissed the joke and asked her to double-check and update his schedule. Grabbing his top coat from a nearby coat tree, Bruce prepared to leave. Alfred held the door open, and Dana waved goodbye, wishing him a nice evening. Bruce paused at the door, that nagging sense of something amiss lingering in his mind. He thanked Dana and Alfred before stepping out, his thoughts heavy with the growing mystery of his missing knights. The night was still and silent. At the stately Wayne Manor, an imposing edifice bathed in moonlight. Bruce Wayne's voice echoed, tinged with a hint of frustration and confusion, as he spoke to his ward, Dick Grayson. Inside the living room, Bruce stood by the tall windows, his silhouette framed by the full moon outside. He looked troubled, an unusual expression for the normally composed billionaire. Dick Grayson, lounging casually in a chair with a newspaper obscuring his face, barely paid attention to Bruce's concerns. The headline on the paper hinted at the chaos gripping Gotham, yet it seemed to bother Dick more than Bruce's uncharacteristic absent-mindedness. Dick lowered the newspaper, revealing a mildly annoyed expression. He questioned the media's focus on Batman's absence, noting that Robin's disappearance was equally unexplained. Rising from his seat, he tossed the folded paper onto a small pile in the corner and crossed the room. Bruce glanced out the window and saw the bat signal shining against the night sky, its beam cutting through the clouds. Dick joined him at the window, curious if Batman would respond this time. The signal's persistent presence loomed over the city, a silent plea for its protector. As Bruce stood transfixed by the symbol, Dick picked up a few textbooks and headed for the door, mentioning a study date with Cindy. Alfred entered the room, his presence marked by the efficient tidying of the newspapers Dick had discarded. He informed Dick that his roadster was ready and idling in the driveway. With Dick gone, Alfred turned his attention to Bruce, who still gazed out the window. Alfred inquired if there was anything he could do to assist. Bruce turned to face him, confusion evident in his eyes. He asked Alfred if he had ever felt something was amiss in his life, a nagging sense that something important was missing. Alfred, ever the steady and contented presence, reassured Bruce that he was quite satisfied with his life. Bruce, however, couldn't shake the feeling. He looked back out the window at the bat signal, its reflection superimposed on the glass, casting a haunting image over his face. The light from the signal illuminated his features, highlighting the deep sense of longing and unease that had taken hold of him. The night remained silent as Bruce softly admitted his wish for the same contentment Alfred claimed to have. The bat signal continued to shine, a beacon of hope and a reminder of the responsibilities and mysteries that haunted Gotham's dark night. The afternoon sky over Gotham City was shrouded in gray, thick clouds rolling in ominously. Bruce Wayne and Dana walked down a bustling downtown street, the air heavy with the promise of a storm. Dana pulled her collar tight against her throat, glancing up at the looming clouds as they moved closer. Bruce, too, looked up, his mind elsewhere, as they made their way through the city. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a low growl that seemed to come from the heart of Gotham itself. Bruce felt a sense of urgency as he assured Dana they could make it back to the office before the rain started. Just as the words left his mouth, a sudden crash of thunder erupted, and fat drops of rain began to splatter on his face. Dana stifled a laugh, standing at the entrance of an alleyway. She held her purse over her head in a futile attempt to ward off the rain, suggesting they take a shortcut through the alley. Bruce hesitated, his eyes narrowing as he looked into the dark, narrow passage. An unease settled over him, a discomfort he couldn't quite explain. Despite his reservations, Dana, smiling through the downpour, grabbed Bruce's wrist and pulled him into the alley. The rain fell harder, drenching them as they ran. Bruce's gaze darted left and right, scanning the shadows and the stacks of crates lining the alley, his instincts on high alert. Suddenly, two biker thugs stepped out from behind the crates, blocking their path. One held a length of tire chain, the other a lead pipe. Dana's fear was palpable, while Bruce's concern shifted into something more primal. The thugs taunted them, demanding money, and Bruce, trying to keep the situation from escalating, reached into his jacket for his wallet. He held it out gingerly, hoping to diffuse the tension. The second thug, grinning unpleasantly, slapped the pipe against his palm and moved toward Bruce. As he reached for the wallet, Bruce's body tensed, and in a split second, he delivered a powerful sidekick, sending the thug flying into the alley wall. The first thug, now furious, charged at Bruce with his pipe raised. Bruce, calm and focused, grabbed the pipe, pivoted, and used the thug's momentum to flip him over his shoulder. The thug slammed into the opposite wall and crumpled to the ground, dazed. Dana watched in astonishment, her eyes wide at Bruce's sudden and unexpected display of martial prowess. Bruce stood in the pouring rain, fists clenched, the two thugs sprawled on either side of him. His body shook, not with fear, but with a deep, simmering rage. Dana rushed to his side, concerned. Bruce assured her he was fine, though his tense demeanor and clenched fists told a different story. Dana placed a comforting hand on his arm, marveling at how he had handled the thugs, yet puzzled by his intense reaction. Bruce looked up, his expression grim, fists still clenched. The storm raged around them, mirroring the turmoil within him. He wished he knew what had come over him, what had driven him to such fury. The unanswered question lingered in the air, as heavy and relentless as the rain. Chapter 2. Nightmarish Confusion. In the distorted, nightmarish corridor, Bruce Wayne found himself in an unfamiliar place. The angles were all wrong, the walls twisted and bent, creating a disorienting scene reminiscent of a Caligari film. He walked along, confusion etched on his face, unsure of where he was or how he got there. As Bruce rounded a bend, the corridor opened up to reveal a massive bookcase that seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions, a towering cliff of literature. Surprised, he reached out, running his fingertips along the spines of the books, their titles whispering secrets from their neatly lined-up positions. His curiosity piqued, Bruce started to pull a particular book from the shelf. Suddenly, a black-gloved hand shot out from between the books, knocking several volumes to the floor. The hand grabbed Bruce's wrist, startling him as he tried to pull away. More gloved hands emerged, reaching out from behind the bookcase, their grasp relentless. Fear gripped Bruce as he struggled to free himself. The bookcase fell away, revealing a darkness beyond, where pairs of slitted eyes glowed ominously. Bruce's cries of fear echoed through the nightmarish corridor. With a jolt, Bruce sat bolt upright in bed, his heart pounding and his body drenched in sweat. The dawn light filtered through the windows of his bedroom, a stark contrast to the dark dreamscape he had just escaped. He threw back the tangled covers and swung himself to the edge of the bed, his face buried in his hands. It was just a dream, he muttered to himself, trying to shake off the lingering fear. Still in his pajamas, Bruce stumbled out of his room and made his way to the library. Inside, Dick sat reading the morning paper while Alfred dusted the shelves. They both stopped and stared as Bruce appeared in the doorway, leaning against it for support, his disheveled appearance a stark contrast to his usual composed self. Without a word, Bruce walked past Dick and headed to the large bookcase that dominated one wall of the room. He ran his fingers along the spines of the books, just as he had in his dream, his mind racing. His hand stopped on a particular book, and as he pulled it from the shelf, a hidden mechanism clicked. To everyone's surprise, the entire bookcase slid aside, revealing a hidden stairway. Dick and Alfred exchanged a look of astonishment before following Bruce down the stairs. Bruce felt along the wall and found a light switch, illuminating the secret passage. As they descended into the darkness, the Batcave was revealed in all its glory. The Batmobile sat ready for action, the trophy room displayed its curious artifacts, and the crime lab and computer system loomed in the background. Bats fluttered overhead, adding to the cave's mysterious ambiance. They moved deeper into the cave, each step revealing more of its secrets. Dick and Alfred were in awe, unable to comprehend the magnitude of their discovery. Bruce, however, felt a deep sense of familiarity. He knew somehow that this was no mere coincidence. As they explored the cave, they found a silver tray with an empty coffee cup and a glass bottle labeled chiroptery. Alfred noted that these were Bruce's favorite coffee mug and Dick's preferred soft drink, further deepening the mystery. Bruce, his expression as grim as ever, turned to Dick and revealed what he had come to realize. Somehow, inexplicably, they were Batman and Robin. The revelation hung in the air, heavy and surreal, as they stood in the heart of the Batcave, their lives forever changed by the secrets hidden beneath Wayne Manor. Hours later, the Batcave was a scene of activity as Bruce and Dick moved with purpose, now clad in their costumes, masks absent. The transformation into their iconic personas of Batman and Robin was not yet complete. The aura of steely toughness and streetwise attitude had not fully settled in. Dick, notably, was without his utility belt. Adding to the sense of incompletion, Alfred was no longer present. Bruce approached the gymnastic equipment, performing an impressive flip off the hanging rings. His movements were fluid and precise as he somersaulted mid-air, landed hands first on the side horse, and then flipped again, landing gracefully on his feet. His unexpected agility left Dick visibly impressed. Bruce seemed almost surprised at his own capabilities, touching the back of his head as if trying to comprehend the muscle memory that had guided him. Dick, meanwhile, examined his utility belt with a mixture of curiosity and caution. He found several small black gas balls, rolling them in his palm like marbles before carefully returning them to their compartment. The grappling gun caught his attention next, and he inadvertently fired it, narrowly missing Bruce, who had to snap his head aside to avoid the projectile. The grapple line snaked back into the gun, and Dick, startled, quickly resecured everything, wary of triggering another mishap. The reality of their new roles began to weigh heavily on Dick, who grappled with the intense reality of crime fighting, contrasting sharply with the fantasy. Bruce, determined and resolute, led them to the computer in search of answers. As he typed, the screen filled with an endless loop of invalid command parameter, frustrating them both. When Bruce's exasperation boiled over, he slammed his fist on the chair arm, prompting the computer to respond with a mechanical voice, instructing him to phrase his question properly. Their brief moment of amazement at the computer's voice led Bruce to ask about their missing memories. The computer, however, reported insufficient data. Seeking further clarity, Bruce requested a list of known enemies capable of inducing selective amnesia. The screen displayed familiar faces: the Mad Hatter, Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul, and the Riddler. All, save for Ra's al Ghul, were incarcerated in Arkham Asylum. Ra's was presumed dead. As they pondered their next move, Alfred reappeared, carrying a large leather-bound ledger. With a hint of satisfaction, he revealed that they had all recently received flu shots from a Dr. Otto Sonderbar, the day before Batman and Robin vanished. Though the name rang no bells, it provided a starting point. Bruce, rising from the computer, resolved to investigate, urging Dick to don his mask as they prepared to visit the doctor. The Batmobile awaited, sleek and imposing. Bruce, slightly awkward, climbed in and pulled on his mask, followed by a nervous Dick. The dashboard of the Batmobile, a complex array of controls and switches, seemed daunting. Bruce, feigning confidence, toggled a switch, accidentally firing a grappling hook from the front bumper. After it retracted, Dick raised an eyebrow, and Bruce, undeterred, tried another switch, igniting the afterburner and bringing the engine to life. As the canopy slid shut, Bruce gripped the wheel, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The Batmobile roared up the ramp, its path seemingly aimed at a solid rock wall. But just before impact, the hidden ramp lowered like a drawbridge, allowing them to speed through. Emerging from beneath Wayne Manor, the Batmobile roared into the dusk, disappearing into the night. Bruce and Dick, braced for the challenges ahead, had taken their first step towards reclaiming their identities and restoring order to Gotham City. The Batmobile roared through the dimly lit streets of Gotham City, its powerful engine echoing off the buildings. Bruce focused on the road, his thoughts troubled. He realized that whoever caused their amnesia must also know their secret identities, a realization that carried a weight of danger and vulnerability. As the car sped along, Bruce and Dick's attention was suddenly drawn to the clanging of a burglar alarm. Ahead, two burglars rushed out of a high-end fur store, leaving a trail of luxurious mink and ermine coats in their wake as they loaded the stolen goods into a waiting van. The Batmobile's approach startled them, and they froze, the first burglar shouting to someone inside the van about the unexpected arrival of the Batcar. Confusion washed over the burglars as the Batmobile roared past them without stopping. Inside the car, Dick looked at Bruce in surprise, questioning why they weren't intervening. Bruce's initial decision to avoid confrontation due to their lack of weapons was quickly reconsidered as Dick reminded him of the resolve and bravery that defined Batman and Robin. With newfound determination, Bruce executed a sharp U-turn, and the Batmobile screamed back toward the bewildered thieves. As the car approached, the burglars drew their handguns and opened fire. The Batmobile screeched to a halt, its bulletproof exterior deflecting the incoming rounds. Bruce, now partially shielded by the vehicle, hurled a batarang that flew wide, missing the burglars. Undeterred by the failed attempt, Bruce ducked behind the windshield as the thieves continued their barrage. Meanwhile, Dick had an idea. He reached for the dashboard, activating the grappling hook, which fired from the Batmobile's front bumper and embedded itself into the side of the van. The burglars leaped aside in surprise, one to each side. Bruce and Dick exited the Batmobile with less than their usual grace, but quickly engaged the burglars. Bruce tackled the first thief, knocking him flat, while Dick delivered a roundhouse kick to the second. The first burglar recovered and grabbed Dick from behind, slamming him against the van. Simultaneously, the second burglar slammed Bruce, forcing him against the van next to Dick. Now, side by side, Bruce and Dick braced themselves as the burglars brandished their guns, mocking their apparent lack of toughness. Their taunts were interrupted by the sliding open of the van's side door. Out stepped Two-Face, emerging from the darkness with a gun in each hand. The sight of him left Bruce and Dick shocked, realizing the gravity of the situation had just escalated dramatically. Chapter 3. Sinister Distaste. Two-Face advanced menacingly towards the costumed Bruce and Dick, both of whom were pressed against the side of the vehicle. His guns were cocked, and he snarled, his intent clear, to ensure they wouldn't remember anything from this moment on. Bruce and Dick were tense, the shadow of Two-Face looming over them. Suddenly, an idea struck Dick. His eyes widened, and his hand fumbled with his utility belt. He managed to retrieve 2 small gas balls, which he then dropped into his gloved hand. In a wide motion, Dick hurled the balls to the ground in front of Two-Face and his men. The balls burst, releasing billowing clouds of gas that quickly enveloped the startled criminals. They coughed and choked as the gas took effect, causing them to collapse at Bruce and Dick's feet. Bruce and Dick, having covered their mouths and noses with their cloaks, lowered them as the gas dissipated. Bruce was visibly impressed by Dick's quick thinking. With the immediate threat neutralized, Bruce and Dick quickly tied up Two-Face and the burglars. The sound of approaching police sirens grew louder, and soon several squad cars squealed to a halt nearby. From the lead squad car emerged Harvey Bullock and Commissioner Gordon. Gordon appeared both stunned and thrilled to see Bruce and Dick standing before him. The commissioner called out, his voice a mix of relief and disbelief. Bruce stepped forward, acknowledging Gordon's amazement, but quickly interrupted Dick's attempt to explain. He provided a vague explanation about working undercover, promising to clarify the situation later. Bruce and Dick got back into the Batmobile as Gordon and Bullock watched. Bruce requested that their return remain confidential for the time being, assuring the commissioner that they would explain everything soon. With that, the Batmobile roared to life once more, and the duo sped away into the night, leaving behind the chaos they had just subdued and a city that would soon learn of its protector's return. Bruce dropped into his seat beside Dick as the canopy of the Batmobile slid shut. With a powerful roar, the vehicle sped off into the night, leaving Gordon and Bullock standing in the street, watching it disappear. Gordon stood there, a sense of relief washing over him. He didn't care where Bruce and Dick had been. He was just glad they were back. Beside him, Bullock snapped the toothpick he had been chewing on in two, his expression one of mild distaste. Minutes later, the Batmobile parked discreetly in the alley beside a nice brownstone building on a quiet residential street. This was Dr. Sonderbar's office, a place seemingly tranquil and unassuming from the outside. The building had an alley running beside it, where the sleek black vehicle blended into the shadows. Inside the office, the interior matched its exterior's charm, with leather chairs for waiting patients, framed diplomas hanging on the walls, and a tall bookcase against an inner wall. Bruce and Dick climbed into the darkened room through a side window, moving silently and cautiously. Bruce glanced around, noting the absence of any occupants. The room felt still and undisturbed. His eyes fell upon a framed photo hanging on the wall. Taking it down, he studied it closely. The black and white photograph depicted Dr. Otto Sonderbar, a short, squat man with thick glasses, graying hair, and a neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard, accepting some sort of award. As Bruce examined the photo, a powerful memory surged to the forefront of his mind. He stiffened, the framed photo slipping from his fingers and shattering on the floor. In that brief flash of memory, he saw a smiling Sonderbar approaching with an air hypo in one hand. Bruce's jaw tightened with grim determination.
It was him,
Bruce thought to himself.
I'm sure of it. I don't know why yet, but I will.
His attention shifted to something previously hidden behind the photo, a pressure plate embedded in the wall. He pressed it, and with a soft mechanical hum, the wall slid back, revealing a large hidden laboratory. Dick joined Bruce, the two moving cautiously into the newly revealed space. The hidden lab was filled with equipment and devices that seemed out of place in a simple doctor's office. This was no ordinary place. It was a secret lair, meticulously concealed. The hidden laboratory spoke volumes about Dr. Sonderbar's true intentions and activities. As they ventured further into the lab, Bruce and Dick knew they were one step closer to uncovering the mystery behind their amnesia and Sonderbar's involvement. The true scope of Sonderbar's plans remained hidden, but the discovery of the lab marked a significant breakthrough in their investigation. The answers they sought were close, and they were determined to find them. The hidden laboratory was filled with an array of electronic and chemical equipment. Glass tubing, retorts, beakers, and a complicated distillation apparatus cluttered the room. At the center stood a device with a rotating radar-like dish connected to a computer monitor and keyboard, emitting slow, rhythmic beeps. Dick's eyes were drawn to the beeping device, its purpose not immediately clear. He approached the computer, his fingers tapping at the keyboard with a sense of urgency. The monitor displayed a chilling message: subjects, Wayne, Grayson, Pennyworth. Radiopathic short-term memory block in effect. Broadcast parameters, 2,000 miles. The revelation was grim. Bruce, standing beside Dick, studied the monitor and realized that they had uncovered the device responsible for their memory loss. Dick continued to type, probing deeper into the system, which soon prompted a confirmation screen. Deactivate viral receivers. Yes or no. With no better options, Bruce's gloved finger pressed the Y key. The device's dish ceased its rotation, and the beeping stopped. Instantly, a wave of pain struck both Bruce and Dick. They clutched their heads, convulsing as though their minds might shatter from the agony. As the pain subsided, they slowly straightened, their body language shifting. They were no longer just Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, but had once again become Batman and Robin. The pain was still fresh, but clarity returned. Robin's memory began to piece itself together. Leslie Tompkins had been away, and Dr. Sonderbar had been recommended for their flu shots. Batman examined an air hypo from the flashback, recalling the injections that had left their memories blank. Batman noted the dormant radar dish and the safe in the corner. It was evident that Alfred, too, had been affected, but now, with the receiver deactivated, he should be recovering. Just then, Dr. Otto Sonderbar, or rather Dr. Hugo Strange, appeared at the lab door, gun in hand. His presence confirmed Batman's suspicions. Strange was no mere doctor. He was a mastermind with a sinister plan. Strange, grinning with malevolent satisfaction, revealed himself as Hugo Strange. He explained that, since his last encounter with Batman, he had invested in building a device capable of broadcasting selective amnesia. His plan had been to block Batman's memories and manipulate them for his gain. Strange boasted about the criminals who had paid him handsomely for his protection during Batman's absence. He had orchestrated this elaborate scheme to eliminate any interference from the Dark Knight and his partner. As Strange continued his monologue, Batman and Robin prepared for a confrontation. Strange's goons entered, their machine guns ready. Strange's attention shifted to a second viral receiver, which he intended to use to leave Batman and Robin as mental vegetables. Batman, driven by desperation, moved toward the distillation apparatus. He adjusted a Bunsen burner, causing a green liquid to bubble and build pressure. The resulting explosion of the reservoir caused a momentary distraction. Batman seized the opportunity, lunging at Strange and grappling with him over the air hypo. Robin, seizing the moment, dealt with the goons with precise and powerful strikes. His quick, decisive movements left the goons incapacitated and out of the fight. Strange struggled to maintain control over the air hypo, but his own momentum led to an accidental discharge. The hypo's contents were released into his chest. Strange's face contorted in horror as he tried to shut down his machine, but it was too late. The viral receiver quickly affected his mind, leaving him a mindless shell. With Strange incapacitated, Robin destroyed the machine, but the damage had already been done. Batman approached Strange, checking his condition. The sight of the defeated and mindless villain confirmed their secret was safe, at least for now. Batman and Robin stood over Strange, their mission accomplished, but with the grim realization that their nemesis' machinations had nearly succeeded in erasing their existence. The Wayne Manor den was tranquil, bathed in the soft glow of the evening. The television screen displayed a news report with the anchor Summer giving an update. Behind her, a still photo of Batman and Robin delivering a bound penguin to the police was shown. The news was upbeat, celebrating the return of the dynamic duo and the restoration of order to Gotham City. Mayor Hill's gratitude was mentioned as a sign of the city's relief. The sound of the TV cut off abruptly, leaving the room in a sudden silence. Dick and Bruce were present in the den, and nearby, Alfred stood by the tall window, his hands clasped behind his back. The serenity of the room was interrupted by a signal in the night sky. The bat signal, its beacon cutting through the darkness, a reminder of the city's ever-present need for its guardians. Dick's expression was one of reluctant acceptance as he glanced at the bat signal. With a sigh, he reluctantly turned away from his plans and headed towards the open grandfather clock. Bruce was already standing by, ready for the next call to action. As Dick approached the clock, he made a final request to Alfred. His words conveyed a sense of resignation and nostalgia, reflecting on the simplicity of their lives before their dual identities were revealed. Alfred, understanding the weight of Dick's words, nodded in acknowledgement. The two heroes stepped through the grandfather clock, which slowly closed behind them, sealing the entrance to the Batcave. The familiar click of the clock mechanism was a quiet prelude to their return to the shadows, ready to answer Gotham's call once again.